Thank you. So yes, I'm Yimo. Just call me Yimo, whether in Japanese or English. And I'm a PhD student in Kyushu University now. And I'm not going to talk about my research, which is about cognitive science and psychology, because my supervisor is here today. So I think I don't want to make it feel like my PhD defense or something. So I will talk about another topic which I'm really interested in. So maybe I really want to share it with you today here. So maybe before going into the topic, I just wondering like how many languages do you speak? Like I already know we have three. James, you speak three. Which three languages? English.
한국어.
Oh, 한국어.
일본어.
So Korean, Japanese, and English. And yeah, I do know we have lots of bilinguals and multilinguals here today, right? Maybe any German speakers? Oh, you do? Oh, great. Any? Yeah, a little bit. Oh, you too?
I know I speak Swedish.
Oh, Swedish. Oh, great. What about any French speakers?
Yeah.
Any French speakers?
French?
Yes, French speakers. Whoa, great. We do have like a variety of speakers here. So basically, I just want to ask you a question that whether you have experienced that like a switch of your personality or a switch on the way that you think about things when you're using different languages. Have you ever had such experience?
All the time.
All the time? Oh, great. So do you mind if you give an example or something? Just a quick one?
I mean, I'm more direct and
yes, in English.
confrontational in English.
Yes, yes.
There's not a lot of swearing in Japanese.
And you're less direct in Japanese?
Say that again?
Like you don't actually go straight forward in Japanese?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the language is ちょっとそれはちょっとですね。
Yes, that's
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I know that. So basically, my personal experience is that when I'm speaking Japanese, I'm way more polite than when I'm speaking English, right? And recently, I just found out that I just unconsciously, automatically bow at others when I'm speaking Japanese. For example, you can see me just standing here normally speaking English, but once I switch into Japanese, usually goes, あ、こんにちは、こんばんは。そうなんですね。知らなかったです。Like you can see, like my personality is almost changing when I'm using different languages. Yeah, that's just my personal experience. I don't know if you have had any similar ones. And also, I want to bring up another example of myself here. So I speak Chinese, Mandarin, and also Japanese and English here. And actually, I do know that maybe I can ask a question first. Like, which day do you think a week starts with? Do you choose Monday or Sunday? What's the Monday? What about Sunday? Yeah, we have to. Can I just quickly ask, like, who would choose Monday? Oh, 月曜日の勝ちですね. So I think most of us are choosing Monday here. Yeah, but I do know it's a controversial question in all over the world. So also in Japan, I noticed that the Techo notebooks that is selling in Japan, so basically they have two systems. One is with a weekly calendar begins from Sunday, and another one with it begins from Monday. So basically everyone is having such concern, like which day should a week begin with. But I would say back in China, most of Chinese do not have such concerns. And most of Chinese will just think Monday is the beginning of a week. Do you know why? Do you have any idea? Oh, you don't have an idea? You're a Chinese speaker? Oh my God. So our only Chinese speakers don't have an idea. Yeah.
Counts with numbers or something?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So firstly, I would say it's not because of government propaganda or something. It's but you know, if we look into Chinese, you know how we call each day in a week in Chinese? We call Monday the day 1, and we call Tuesday as day 2, and so on. So we call Sunday as day 7. So when I was not speaking English, I just heard from my English teacher that in America most of people would prefer to think Sunday as the beginning of a week, and I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. How could you start a week with day 7? And then I realized that actually in English or in any other languages, they don't actually use this kind of counting thing when talking about weekdays, right? But in Chinese, because we have such an order of number for Monday, Tuesday, and Sunday, so we already automatically think that a week should definitely begin with Monday. Does that make sense for a Chinese speaker? Yeah, I didn't know I would have to teach Chinese to a Chinese speaker here today. Yeah. So basically, that's all just my personal experience. But what I really want to bring up here today is that it's not only our experience, but lots of psychology and linguistic studies have really proved that language is really shaping how you think and really influence how you think. So maybe I want to show you some interesting examples here today. As I know, we do have German and French and maybe Spanish speakers here. So I think you're already familiar with such grammatical gender system. And if you're not familiar with it, it's just like lots of European languages. They will just assign, for each of the noun, they will assign a gender for it. For example, maybe a table would be a feminine word, would be a female word. Or a laptop would be a male or a masculine word. But it makes no sense for me, right? I cannot see any feminine part of such a table. But still, they do have such grammatical gender system. So I do find lots of interesting examples here. For example, in French, the word beard actually is a feminine word. But I don't know, any of us could find any part feminine within a French beard. Is French beard different from Japanese beard or something? We don't know. And also similarly in Russian, a bottle of water, so the word water is actually a feminine word. But somehow once you put a tea bag into it, it became a masculine word. So what's happening during this gender processing thing? We're not sure about it. So I've talked with lots of friends who do speak French and German or Spanish. So basically they will say that, oh, it's just grammar thing. It doesn't really influence how we think. We don't actually treat a table as a woman. We don't actually kiss it or something. So yeah, they will say it doesn't influence anything. But that's just what they're saying. But as a scientist, we should really look into scientific evidence of it, whether it's really influencing us. So that's the first experiment, the first research I found out. So basically, they're asking French and Spanish native speakers to assign a human voice to cartoon characters. For example, they have character of forks and a character of spoons. So if I'm asking you, which voice would you choose to assign for them? A woman's voice or a man's voice? Any?
What's that, the French speaker?
Yeah, yeah, maybe. So what about French speaker? Okay, so the fork is a female and spoon is male. Do you have a reason for it? Okay. Oh, hair. Oh, I see. That's interesting.
In Dutch, it's opposite.
It's opposite.
We say ne label, which is male.
Yes.
We say unverkit, which is female.
Okay, so would you choose the same voice for the words? Are you influenced by such gender system?
I'm allergic to Disney movies, so I wouldn't
Yeah.
characters. Yeah. But yeah, I suppose a fork does look male.
Does look male, but
Even though it's female by gender.
Oh, I see.
But the Dutch are crazy anyways.
Yes. Well, I personally would assign a female voice for both of them because I do have them in my apartment. I just couldn't imagine if one day they speak to me in a male's voice, hey, girl. I would definitely do not want that, so I will just assign female voice to them. But any other, if you want to talk about your choice? Yeah, then maybe let's look at the choice of French and Spanish speakers. So to the character of fork, French speakers, most of them turns out they want a fork to speak in a woman's voice. And of course, the word fork is a feminine word in French. But when we ask Spanish speakers, actually most of them prefer a gravely male voice for it. And a fork is actually a masculine word in Spanish. So we can already kind of see the difference here. Yes?
Question. What happens if what about chopsticks?
Chopsticks. I'm not, because they're just choosing the words with opposite genders in each language. So I'm not. What about chopsticks? Is it male or female, or you don't have a gender for it? Gender neutral? Oh, Yeah, I think because maybe chopstick is not originally in European languages, so maybe it's gender neutral, or
In Dutch, it's male.
it's male.
Stock.
Oh,
Stock is
I see.
stock. Male.
Whoa, I didn't know I'm using a male thing every day. Yes. Oh, yeah. Do you know why it's assigned to male? Yeah, maybe we can talk about that later. So I did find a similar research here. So they're asking the native speaker of Spanish and German to talk, like to name the very first adjective that came to their mind to describe a list of objects. So basically, all the objects on the list, they are like they have opposite genders in German and in Spanish. So I would just use the example of a key here. So what do you think? How would you describe a key?
I would say masculine.
Masculine? You already using that? Okay.
Any adjective?
Yeah, any adjective.
You know, jangly.
Jungling. Oh, great. I would just say important, useful. Yeah. What about the others?
I thought we were doing gender things. No.
Yeah.
Very useful,
Well,
very useful.
very useful. I will talk about gender things later.
Yeah, I say jangly as well.
Jungling.
Small.
Small. Yes. Oh, yes, we do have lots of words to describe it. And if we look into German and Spanish, so the word key is masculine word in German and it's a feminine word in Spanish. So how do you think German speakers should describe it? If we look at the most frequent word they mentioned, they're saying it as hard, metal, useful, and heavy. But when we're asking Spanish speakers where key is a feminine word, how are they describing keys? They're saying little, shiny, lovely, and tiny. So it's so different. And if you see such a difference, I don't believe that in German and in Spain they're using different keys. Is that really German keys are heavier and harder than Spanish keys? I don't think so. So we can already see how the language is influencing us to think about things when we're really assigning such gender to a gender neutral thing. So basically, I want to talk about, to use these examples, I want to show that the language is really help deepening our gender bias or gender stereotypes. So that's what I want to talk about. And as my mother language is Chinese, and I'm frequently speaking Japanese here in Japan. So I really found out that the Chinese characters we're using in both Chinese and Japanese, there is important problems happening. And I found that is one of the most biased problems, I think, that's happening in Chinese. So I want to address it here today. So if you can see all the words here.
If you go back one slide, I didn't catch that.
Oh.
Go back one slide, I didn't catch the.
Okay. Yes. It's just, yeah. Okay. So if you can see all the words here in English, can you tell me what's the common point of all the words? They're all bad. Yeah. It's all words with negative meanings, right? Devil is not bad for you. Yeah, I mean, it's yeah.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
Absurd is also a good word.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we can see if we see the first line like slave, jealousy, greedy, and rape, it's basically with bad negative meanings. But we cannot see any other association or correlation within all the words, right? Can you see any association within it? I mean, they can happen in both, all of them can happen in a bad person or something. But if we look at the Chinese characters of all these words, now can you again try to find a common point of it? So I think maybe some of you are not familiar with such characters, but still I think you might be kind of aware of such similar part of all the characters, right? So like here. Oh, they even have 3 of them, but like this one and this one down here. Do you know what's the meaning of this part? Any? You know?
Woman.
Woman, yes, that's it. That's me. So they do have all the negative words. They have a part of woman inside. Yeah, and if you know the construction of Chinese characters, you might know that each part of a character, actually it conveys the meaning of the whole character, right? So each part of a character, actually they come together and show the real meaning of a character. And somehow all these negative words, they're all with the woman inside. You know, before I studied English, you know, I thought jealous, the emotion of jealous is just the emotion that women can have. I thought it's just a female thing, because you see, it's with 2 women inside. And I thought only women can get raped because they have 3 women here. Maybe it's woman raped woman. Anyway, yes. But we do have 3 women here in the word rape. So when I only know Chinese, I really thought, you know, such negative words, they're just made for women. But actually, you know, it's not. When we're studying more languages, when I can know like more words in English, I just found out it's not really it. And what Chinese is conveying here is really a deepened misogyny, I would say. So when the Chinese characters were invented at the first time, actually they were just, the people who invented Chinese characters, I would say, they have misogyny. That's why they're putting women in such negative words. And also, I'm not only going to show negative ones. We do have some characters with good meanings and also with women inside. But still, can you find anything that's kind of weird within these 2 characters?
Woman and child.
Yes, exactly, James. Yes.
Women under a roof.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, yeah. So basically, the word good, if you look into it, it's a woman with a child, and that means a good. What about women who don't have a child? That's ridiculous. And if we look at the word safety, it's a woman under a roof. So a woman inside a house would be safe. What about women go outside? Will then not be safe? So all the characters, even the characters with good meanings, is based on a stereotype on women. So that's basically what I want to address it here today. So I wanted to put it higher with talking about SDGs. You know, nowadays maybe all the researchers are trying to relate their research with SDGs, but maybe I'm not going to put it so high here today. I just think that, you know, if we know such interesting points, and whenever we speak language, we cannot actually take it for granted. You know, before when we were speaking, maybe we take the language for granted because they already existed. But we should really thought whenever we speak, whether in your mother language or in a second, third language, maybe you should really ask yourself, like, what's happening here? What's happening in Chinese? What's happening in Japanese? Is that really the same thing in English or in other languages? And you know, I know most of us, we can speak more than 2 languages or so. So we can really compare within languages and see what's happening, what's the bias and stereotype within languages. And that might be an interesting thought, I think. Yeah, that's all for today. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Yimo. All right, floor is open for questions.
For questions?
Well, I mean, one thing that was bugging me the whole time is what's interesting, though, is that a lot of European languages descend from languages that originally had a neuter gender. Mm-hmm. And that gradually got assimilated into the other grammatical genders. Mm-hmm. For example, I think in Romanian today, and one dialect of Spanish is spoken in Spain. Within the Romance languages, anyway, there's very little, except for those 2, there's very little remaining of the neuter declension, or not, no, the neuter gender in language. So I just think it's interesting because when you use these thought experiments, and then we have if we had the Latin speaker from 0 AD to give a voice to an object that was neuter, for example, I was just like, oh, I wonder what that would sound like, because it's just like, yeah, it's just curious to me. Sorry, it wasn't a question.
Yes.
That's a thought
It was
experiment.
just because in German you still have neuter nouns.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point to speak of. But I'm not a professional in such language things. So if you have any ideas about European languages, maybe you can talk more.
I mean, I just like languages in general, just to some extent. So it's just interesting because I know there's like no grammatical gender in the same robust way there is in Japanese, for example.
Yes.
In the same way there is in like the Romance language or German, for example. So it's just sorry, yeah.
Maybe James go first. I saw James. Just
Oh, thank you. I just had a question. I'm not sure. I'm not very good at kanji, Hanzi. So were those simplified characters?
Oh yeah, both simplified and the traditional ones. I think if we have Japanese speakers.
Are these simplified or traditional?
For example, this one would be a traditional. I think most of them are traditional ones, right? Like we're sharing it both in traditional and simplified ones.
So then my question is then, so when the characters got switched to simplified characters, did they make any like changes to like make it like more, I don't know, like gender neutral or?
Oh yeah, actually I wanted to talk about that, but I don't have enough time. But they do like the kanjis I showed here, they did no change when it was simplified, but they do have some kanjis that it was simplified, but still the woman part is not reduced. And also sometimes they added woman part into it. Yes, but I didn't have time to talk.
Correct. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, maybe Adam?
I would be interested to see if there's a common theme of Chinese characters containing the male radical.
Yeah, actually, we don't have such character containing male.
So
yes, we don't have such character containing male. That's what.
This person, right?
Yes.
So, I have a question. When you translate the English words into Chinese, then one-to-one, you can change to one-to-one, because if we do that in Japanese, there are many choices there.
So for each character?
Yeah, one characters, but there are many choices there, and some of them are different gender, I think.
I see. Some of them are different genders or with different meanings.
No.
Yes, for example, for this word, maybe it's not only wicked, it also means rape in simplified Chinese, but I'm only choosing the most obvious meaning here. But to be honest, the other meaning of all the characters is not good. So it's just a replication of negative words, and active words. But yeah, I'm just want to convey here today that they're with negative meanings. Yes, but they do have several different meanings.
As well, that jealousy, you could interpret that as men get very jealous about women. So it's actually a bad thing about men. How they perceive women.
Yes, you can see that. But what about the other characters? I mean, we do have.
But some of them you can interpret slightly.
Yes.
A dried woman is wicked.
A dried woman is. Yes. I think we do have lots of different kind of explanations for such characters. I can give it gender-neutral explanations myself, but if you look into the original meaning of it, like how people actually invented the characters at the very first thought, is with bad meanings.
Yeah.
And also, if I'm going to show you the slide I prepared here, if you see how the character woman came, so all the Chinese characters, they came from drawings. So the draw of woman is actually done on the ground. So from the beginning, the usage of the word woman is already with some problematic thing. Yes.
If you go back to the absurd one.
Third one.
Absurd.
Oh.
It's kanji for absurd. Yeah, it says, I'm not so good at kanji, but the top part is death, right?
Yes, it's death.
So women dying is absurd. It's just stupid, right? Death in the maiden. So I think it's actually
good meaning.
Expressing love.
Expressing love?
Yes, because losing your loved one to death is absurd.
Oh, yeah, that should be a good explanation. But again, why we're only putting male as
we
the
don't care about men
main
dying,
characters?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absurd.
But that's a good explanation. I don't care about men. So
But I was wondering. So you mentioned these are Chinese kanji. So
and also sharing in Japanese,
it's all the same, or?
If I can ask Miki-san, or is it all the same?
For instance, like slave,
Yes.
would be like prostitute, and then like a rape is yes.
But I think this one does not actually.
It's protection, and suspicion means dislike, and absurd like almost like submission. Yeah, table is also.
So basically the same.
Yeah, so basically the same. Thank you, Miki-san.
I have a question, because what's interesting, because I know some things about Chinese characters. Like, for example, in the early 20th century, there's the third person part, there's ta, right? It's also the same as the kanji in Japanese for hoka, or different. But in Chinese, they invented one that could be used for third person for women, which incorporates this kanji.
Yes.
But that's a later, that kanji was...
That's a later
right?
one.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. But I feel like it's a neutral one because it doesn't convey any negative or positive meaning.
But it functions just to specify the third person's gender in the sentence.
Yes,
Who doesn't have any other-
But still, one thing I want to, that's a really good point. Like we do have two different characters for he and for she, but still if we speak in Chinese and there's a group of people with both female and male inside, we will only use a male word to talk about a group of people.
But it's the same in it's the same in a lot of romance languages.
Oh, it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the thing I want to convey today.
So, these are a kind of a picture or a figure on the print. But in daily lives, they speak sound. And sounds, does sound convey gender?
Yes, that's also interesting. Maybe I want to ask you first, as a Japanese speaker, when you are talking, does the character come into your mind?
I don't think so.
You don't know, but at least for me, the characters just came into my mind. So if for you it doesn't come to your mind, maybe it's fine as far as I can say, but also sometimes sound is also conveying such bias or stereotype. I think I've showed Yang a research before that white race, male voice is more easily being recognized by AI system. And like for me,
the actual kanji or the actual
the voice. So when you're trying to speak to AI, like you're speaking to Siri, Siri will more easily understand a white guy's voice instead of a white woman or a white or someone like me. Yeah. So.
Actually, that explains a lot.
Yeah, because when they're doing deep learning for AIs, they're using much more white guy's voice than the other parts. So yeah, that makes the thing. But still, I think in daily talk maybe it's not so severe if you don't think about characters.
So connecting to that, then, like how what do you say sounds. I know that in some languages, like Spanish and even like Thai, have like different ways of speaking if you're a man or a woman.
Yes.
Now, do those? Now, is that first because of written language changes like that, or is it because the spoken language becomes that identity language?
Oh, that's interesting. But you were talking about the language of Thai and which I don't know. I don't.
I also think maybe it's easier for the person who's listening to identify if they're talking about a man or a woman. So it's the same thing with my mother tongue as well. The verb itself changes, especially if we're talking about a man doing something. And then it would be another way of saying the word if it's a woman doing something else. It's more to communicate.
What's your mother tongue?
It's called Tamil. Yeah.
So, sorry, do you promote that we like change the characters? Like, would you like to see like a system because China already changed the characters once, right?
Yeah.
So would you promote like a changing of the characters?
Why not? I would prefer to promote, but you see they will not listen to me if I could say.
If they were to listen to you, would you like to see a change?
Yes, I would really like to see a change. Maybe not only to reduce such words. Actually, that would be a good idea, but I don't do such things. I don't want to ask for battles. Yes, but maybe we can
get rid of kanji altogether.
Yeah, you someone who loves Chinese or Japanese cultures, they will definitely say no to you. So for me, both ways fine. And maybe we can use the like woman in more positive meanings, or yes.
All
that
right.
is.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
All right. That's time for now. We'll be around. So